Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at the selling prices for the Vintage Collection 2.0 figures. So that's any figure that's been released since the Vintage Collection came back in 2018. Now of course I have done previous videos about the most expensive or the rarest Vintage Collection figures, but that always counted figures back from 2010 onwards. This video was actually requested by a couple of people in the comments. They wanted to know the most sought after figures from the Vintage Collection since it came back. So before we get into this, if you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below because that really does help the video and the channel. And let's get straight onto this, starting with Vc123, which is the Mimbam Stormtrooper, which is a Walmart exclusive. Now what I'm going to be doing on this video is I am going to be comparing prices from the US and the UK because they do differ slightly depending on which figure we're looking at. So for example, if we do look at Vc123, which is the Mimbam Stormtrooper, as I mentioned, in the US it isn't going for such a high price because it was a Walmart exclusive and there was quite a lot of these around. They were quite easy to pick up in the end, not to begin with, but in the end they were quite flooded with them. But if we're looking at the UK market, you can see that these go for a whopping £40. That was a sold price on the 18th of April. £44 there, you can see. £50. So we're talking like triple or almost 4 times the retail value for Vc123. So if you do not have that figure, I advise you to get him now before he goes up in value even further. Next up we have Vintage Collection Vc126, which is the Imperial Assault Tank Driver, which I'm sure you will know is one of the figures that's been touted as a re-release in that fan vote for next year. I found that one a little bit strange because over in the UK we were able to pick up that figure for £5 in the Entertainer for a very long time. He was on the pegs, no problem at all. However, he has started to creep up in value, but if you look in the US, recently one sold just the other day for $51. Further on down, $60, $70. So you can see that this figure is in high demand. If we look at the UK, you can see not so much, but then again, it is starting to creep up. £40, £42, another £40 there. And that is absolutely crazy, as I mentioned, because just, 6-7 months ago, we were picking up this figure for £5 in the Entertainer. He was on the pegs along with a load of other figures, and basically you could just get as many as you wanted. Next up is Vc129, which is Dr. Aphra. Now you may think, why is this figure on the list? Why am I even talking about this figure? And you'll see it's not really that expensive. But even so, $30 still for this figure is quite a lot. But I'm sure some of you may be aware that there is an actual Euro variant of this card back without this warning sticker on here, because this warning sticker is really annoying. It covers up part of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber just there. And in Europe, there was a card back without that warning. Now, it's very, very difficult to find one. Very rare indeed. I've had a look on here. I can't find any for sale, and I can't find any that have been sold in the last couple of months. However, I do know for a fact that they exist and they have become a bit of a collector's item in the community. And if you can get your hands on one of those, I would do so because they do go for a lot of money on the secondary market. You can see on the UK here, the standard card goes for about £23, £25, which is still a lot for another one that was in the Entertainer for £5. But again, this is the US card with the warning sticker on the top right there. And the one that we're after is the Euro card, which, as I say, is so rare that it very rarely comes up for sale. The next figure I'm going to look at is Vc136, which is Han Solo in Carbonite. And this figure was part of the Jabba's Palace playset. And if you look at the prices here on the secondary market just for the figure, we've got one there for $40, $30, $30. Anywhere between $30 and $40 seems to be the mark for this figure. And if you look at the UK site, wow, nearly £60 for this figure, which essentially is more than the playset cost. But this is how much this figure's going for now, and the playset even more. I think the playset fetches over £100, which is quite crazy. And I'm sure the guys in the US that are watching this now are thinking that is absolutely crazy, because I do know that there was a lot of those available on the shelves at Walmart, reduced right down to like $13 at one point. And that's for the whole playset, not just the figure. So Han Solo and Carbonite, if you want to get him, you're going to have to get him in the playset. Otherwise, secondary market prices are very, very high. Now the next one is another one that has a European variant card without the warning. And again, it's reasonably rare. It's very, very difficult to find. Not as difficult as the Afra card is, but this one is still quite difficult to get hold of. If you go through all of this on the US, you never see one for sale in the US. But if we go to the UK site, you'll see even the figure on the US card is going for £23, nearly double the price of retail. But if we carry on down, you'll see there's one without the warning, and it went for £26. All the others have the warning. So that is a variant card back, the European card. It has the bit of paper in the bottom there where the US card doesn't, because it has the warning up in the top right hand corner. So that's just another one for you guys to look out for if you do come across a Chewbacca without the warning in the top right hand corner. I'd snap him up. Next up we have Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise, Vc143. Now as you can see there, this is one that has gone right up in price. Ignore this one because it was graded a UKG 90, but standard card with no grading, £45. That one went for £35, but generally this one goes for around on average of £40, I would say, which of course is 3 times the retail price for a figure that isn't really that old. And in the US, he's not so expensive, but he's creeping up. You've seen him on there for $36, $35. But if we go down, someone managed to bid on one for $20, which is a bit of a bargain. Now taking a look at Luke Skywalker crate from The Last Jedi, Vc146. Now this one's interesting because it seems to be quite expensive in the US. I think it's quite hard to get hold of at the time. And as you can see, this one went for auction for $56. As we go down, somebody paid $89. These are all sold listings. These aren't ones that are for sale. So these are prices that people have actually paid. So $79, $96. You can see that this figure is in high demand in the US. Whereas if you go to the UK, you can see here he goes for, somebody got an absolute bargain there for £16.50. Whereas the very next week, somebody got it for £66. But still, £35, still an awful lot for this figure. But compared to the US, reasonably cheap. Next up, we move on to Vc148, which is the Imperial Assault Tank Commander. Now, this figure is possibly one of the reasons why I've done this video, because this is probably the first figure from the Vintage Collection 2.0 that I saw go up in value to the extreme. £89 for that one, £84, £129, but a best offer was accepted, so it's probably around £100, something like that. £87, £100. Absolutely crazy for a figure that is not that old, but he must have been short packed. It is the commander, so you're not really going to be army building this guy. I think he may have been short packed, whereas the driver was more readily available. In the US, the story is quite similar. $125 somebody paid for one. Somebody got an absolute bargain here of $59, although the card does look a bit warped on that one. $180 for that one, 27 bids. Absolutely mind-blowing. And that one went for $250. Absolutely crazy, this figure. Now, if you didn't manage to get this figure when it first came out, it is a bit of a shame because you can just see the prices of it now. Hopefully there'll be some extra stock or something that come out with this one, but the ship may have sailed with this one, and this might just be the new price. Anywhere between $80 and $150 for this figure. Absolutely crazy. Another one that I've seen creep up in value most recently is the R2d2 Vc149. This one actually quite surprised me quite a bit. £47 you can see on the bidding. £60 buy it now. £67, £56. So anywhere between, that was back in March, but anything in April now is well over £50, almost reaching £70 for R2d2. Let's see what he's like in the US. Much cheaper in the US there. That one was a buy it now for $21.90, so somebody got an absolute bargain. But the day before, somebody paid $74.94. So another 26 there, 45, 83. So the prices for this one seem to be going all over the place. But as I say, I probably wouldn't want to pay more than $35, $40 for the R2D2. But if I was you, I'd get him quick before he goes up in value even more. Another one that saw a big increase in price around about January time was the Vc156 Ray from the Rise of Skywalker. I saw this one going for about £60 in the UK. Since then, a shop called TK Maxx has managed to get some stock for $7.99. But you can still, even though those are around, the prices are still around the £30 mark, £35, which is, you know, nearly 3 times the retail value. In the US, it seems to be a similar story, with this one going for $81 on a bidding there, $78 with the best offer accepted, $80, $90. So again, this figure must have been short packed. Maybe all of the Rise of Skywalker ones were short packed due to the, you know, lack of success of the film. We don't know, but it does seem that this figure is going up and up in value. If we go back a little bit there, April the 18th, $52, $50 beginning of April, and now it's going for nearly $80, and now it's going for $80. So the prices are just constantly going up. So, you know, my advice to you is just, if you see a deal and you think it's a good price, grab it while you can, because they're only going to go one way. Now, of course, we know the big furore around Cara Dune, Vc164. I made a whole video about Cara Dune. When Gina Carano got sacked, all of the figures for her just went up in price because retailers were cancelling pre-orders and things like that. They were worried they weren't going to get the stock from Hasbro. The ones in the UK did get the stock from Hasbro in the end, so the prices came right down. But at one point, these were going for like £80 each. They've now leveled off at around £30 for a figure of Cara Dune, which isn't too bad, I guess, considering that she's never going to be made ever again. So if you haven't got Cara Dune, I would advise to get her, because again, she's only ever going to go up in value. In the US, it's a similar story. $40 seems to be the price for Cara Dune. Oops, I seem to miss out Vc162A, which is the Sith Trooper Armory pack. I think this was an Amazon exclusive, if I remember rightly, and a lot of these came damaged. So to get one in decent condition can be quite difficult, and that might be one of the reasons why this one's so expensive. But this one went for $54.95, again £51. And if we look in the US, we've got one for $44 here, $54. So similar prices, but again, this one is an exclusive. As I mentioned, a lot of them arrived damaged, so this one could potentially be a rare one in the future. And lastly, we have Vc171, which is the Stormtrooper that was packed in the carbon freezing chamber. Now, essentially, this figure hasn't really gone up in value, but it seems to always sell for about £30 to £35 without the set. And the same can be said for the US, about $32 there, $32. So people seem to be buying the set, keeping the set and selling the figure to make a profit. But depending on how many of these sets were made, this figure could end up being a pretty rare figure. So if you're not going to get the set, I advise you to get the figure right now for about $30 before he goes up in value even more. So there you go then, guys. That is the most recent sold prices for the Vintage Collection 2.0. So any Vintage Collection figure from 2018 onwards. The highlights from there are definitely the R2d2 figure and the Assault Tank Commander. Both of those are becoming very, very expensive, and yeah, if you haven't got those figures already, I advise you to get them before they just go up even more. R2d2, could he ever get a re-release like that? I'm not so sure. The Assault Tank Commander seems to be one that will never come out again, in my opinion. Not for a long, long time anyway. So there you go then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these prices. Thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.